Work actually began on this sequel 5 years before release. Producers at Disney were discussing what ideas they had. Walter Murch wanted to do another Wizard of Oz story, and the studio head straightened up in his chair, immediately intrigued, as Disney happened to own the rights to all of the Oz stories. But the copyright was going to expire within the next 5 years. The movie actually ended up developing many of the Oz stories from the books, not just one, and it was going to be a lot darker than the 1939 film. However, as shooting began, the budget increased, but Walter Murch fell behind on schedule, leading to him being fired as the director. However, it was actually my old buddy George Lucas and Francis Ford Coppola who defended him and fought for him to be reinstated to finish the movie. By the time it came out, the Oz books were then public domain, though some had been bought by Disney a few years earlier. They did have to pay for the rights to recreate the ruby slippers, however, as they were now the property of MGM. The film did end up grossing $11.1 million in North America, but they had a budget of $28 million, so they actually lost quite a lot of money. Upon release, it did receive mixed thoughts. Some felt it perfectly captured the feeling of the books, while others slated it for being far too dark and scary to be aimed towards children. Pussies. It also was for a while in the Guinness Book of World Records for being the sequel with the longest period of time after the original, as Return to Oz came out 46 years after The Wizard of Oz. Though this was later defeated by Bambi 2, which came out in 2006, 64 years after the original. Though Walter Murch never intended this to be a direct sequel to the first movie, more of a partial sequel with some direct references. He wanted it to be more of an adaptation of the books instead. The premise is simple. Dorothy returns to Oz and it's now in complete ruins and she has to maintain the balance. It's like the later parts of Ocarina of Time or Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland if it wasn't complete shit.
Let's go see.
Dorothy is now played by Fairuza Balk, yeah, Bobby Boucher's girlfriend from The Waterboy. She was in for a wild few years. It is weird that Judy Garland was 16 in the first film, and here Fairuza was just 10, but this takes place 6 months later. And I don't care what the director says, it is a damn sequel. It clearly follows up on the story, it has loads of references, it just continues absolutely everything. It's a goddamn sequel.
How did that work?
Right off the bat, it sure as hell looks a lot more somber compared to the original. I mean, it starts with some electroshock therapy. Fun for the whole family. Yeah, she's seeing a psychiatrist because nobody believes her story of the world of Oz. This is Disney. Jesus Christ, lighten up. Imagine taking your kids to go and see the light-hearted, long-anticipated sequel to the wonderful, colourful, beloved Wizard of Oz, and you see this. I think the biggest travesty is that Toto is barely even in it. Yeah, they completely removed the iconic Toto and replaced him with a fucking chicken.
Oh, I was just trying to lay my egg, that's all.
Belina?
Who else?
The farm looks pretty cool though, but I can't tell if that's just because it looks like the set of Superman. I will say, her believing that Oz was real and nobody believing her is a really cool idea, and it does make a lot of sense, considering how the original film kept it ambiguous as to whether it was a dream or if it actually happened. At least we finally get an answer. I mean, some could argue that it completely ruins the mystery, but I'm okay with that. But a shooting star, we later find out from one of her Oz friends, manages to send her a key. But how? Oh, who cares? She believes her friends are asking for her help. Now, Fairuza Balk actually does an amazing job as Dorothy in this, even if they do keep in obvious fuck-ups.
But then a witch enchanted his axe, and he kept on cutting off all the other parts of his body.
Just look at this! I can't get over how disturbed this is! They are using hypnotherapy on a child to erase her memories. This is a child! I fucking love it! And Dorothy has to stay at the nut house without her mother, the poor kid. I mean, I know this is set in 1899, but god damn it's savage. She should be terrified, but look, she barely even reacts. She doesn't seem the slightest bit fazed by any of this. They even strap her down. The kids in the 80s were badass, man, and it was rated PG. What a decade. I'm starting to think that PG stood for pretty gutsy or purely gory. The sheer contrast between the two movies is hilarious.
Ha ha ha, ho ho ho, and a couple of tra-la-las. That's how we laugh a day away in the merry old land of Oz.
She becomes friends with this ghost blonde girl who somehow saves her. Even when we find out who this girl is, it isn't really explained. It just makes no sense. She's magic, I don't know. But it is quite a nice touch that they maintain continuity from the first movie by having the actress who later plays the Wicked Witch to play this crazy asylum lady. They even chase the girls through a rainy storm as if they're criminals. This is a Wizard of Oz movie, and I'm getting some serious Shawshank vibes right here. And that's how she ends up back in Oz. So basically, anytime she wants to go and visit her friends, all she has to do is go through a life-changing and horrific traumatic experience. Sounds like a good deal. I love how Dorothy isn't even surprised to hear a chicken talk. She's also not surprised at how bad this obvious green screen is. Neither am I.
When did you learn to talk anyway?
Oh, now you ask!
If this is the land of Oz, then this is the Deadly Desert.
I don't like sand.
I love how the Deadly Desert wasn't even mentioned in the first movie at all, but now all of a sudden she knows all about it. Don't say it's not a sequel, it clearly is. It's in the title, Return to Oz! And she's handling this experience way too well, isn't she? Does she react to anything? Fairuza Balk is doing great. I just blame the direction. This isn't normal, Dorothy. React! But Tim Burton called. He wants his stop motion back. The rocks begin to watch Dorothy and then warn Satan. Jesus Christ!
Nothing to worry about.
She comes across her old house, which is a really cool throwback, but Oz is now completely deserted, with even the yellow brick road completely in ruins. Yeah, it looks like the roads of Northampton. The Emerald City is completely ruined too, and people are even turned into stone. I guess they had more of a budget than the Rocky Horror remake. I really do appreciate how this is a much more serious tale, and they're not just trying to replicate the whimsical nature of the original. It's ballsy as hell. It looks awesome, and it is really eerie as she starts to explore the deserted wasteland.
It's a Tin Woodsman.
The Tin Man. Nobody has ever referred to him in the original film or in media and pop culture as the Tin Woodsman. It's the fucking Tin Man! Although this is an awesome moment as she explores the city, the talking chicken is a bit distracting and so annoying. But then we're introduced to the Wheelers, who are creepy as hell. I actually prefer them to the flying monkeys in the original. They're terrifying. They even corner her into an alleyway. You can see why so many people who saw this movie as a kid were traumatized for years. Maybe that explains my PTSD. But it just so happens to be the exact alleyway where the key from earlier works to make their escape.
Chicken in there with you? The Gnome King doesn't allow chickens anywhere in Oz.
Ah, so the Gnome King is John Waters.
Who's the Gnome King?
David Bowie. But hey, they managed to find a robot called TikTok. No, not that one. To be fair, the animatronic actually looks pretty cool. It is funny how he marches out dramatically to fight the scary-ass Wheelers, but they have the goofiest circus music ever playing. But he actually kicks their asses.
There's only one person that knows where the Scarecrow is.
Batman. There are some truly awesome shots of the ruined city though. I really like this film's production design and style. But I don't quite understand. What's even the point in having a queen run a ruined city? I mean, what does she do? There's nobody to rule. She even has a room full of disembodied heads. And then she removes her own head. Fucking hell, this is Disney. This movie is fucking amazing. She even wants Dorothy's head. Jesus. I have no idea if that's supposed to be funny. This big dramatic hero coming to the rescue and then he's the slowest guy ever. But Dorothy still isn't fazed by any of this. Then we meet Pumpkinhead, who is even called Jack. He's basically Jack Skellington before Jack Skellington was Jack Skellington. He's basically Scarecrow 2.0.
Did you see the headless dancing girls outside?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
so casual. Yeah. She just cut off their heads. Yeah. React to something, you psycho! Okay, all jokes aside, Jack is so sweet and cute, man. He's adorable. But then they meet a new friend, a moosehead called Gump. It is really intense as Dorothy tries to retrieve the key from the sleeping witch. Yeah, a sleeping headless body. Disney! Then she has to sneak into the head cabinets and there is so much tension. It's nuts. The heads then wake up, the queen sits up with no head. This is terrifying!
His brains ran down.
oh, if his brains ran down, how could he talk?
It happens to people all the time, Jack.
Accurate and clever continuity from the original film.
Some people without brains do an awful lot of talking.
But I have one question though. How can the witch even find the heads when she doesn't even have her own? And why does she sleep without a head anyway? And why am I questioning any of this?
Mr. Gump, can't you fly any faster?
I'm pretty tired.
Think I'll go home now.
You know, you'd think the Wheelers would have known about the deadly desert beforehand, especially since we later find out the Queen has a convenient underground passage.
Where are we, anyway?
Canada. But uh-oh, Satan is there to spy on them.
Now, she is on our mountain with a small army.
She is more powerful than I thought. What about the chicken?
Okay, that's pretty funny.
There's no sign of the chicken.
It's so out of place for the rest of the scene. I'm not even sure if it's supposed to be funny or not.
So if someone steals something, you think the right thing is for them to give it back.
Yes, Your Majesty.
And what if they don't want to?
This is the evil king and he's the most childish, petty villain ever. Nope, you can't make me.
You have so much!
But that is not the point.
You know. I know everything.
It sounds fair to me. And what I think is all that matters.
But you didn't tell us about it.
Well, you didn't ask.
Why didn't you just transform them all right away?
It's more fun this way.
Nah, 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 nah.
Are you sure you didn't come back for these?
Okay, I am not taking this seriously. It's this immature, scary villain and now he's wearing women's slippers. Sorry, it's not happening. Then Dorothy falls into the Twilight Zone. This is Disney! Look at it! It's so disturbed! This is the Wizard of Oz! What happened? Oh, well, he then turns him into an ornament as revenge! As he believes the previous King of Oz stole his emeralds. This is ridiculous. Seriously, these effects are great besides some wonky green screens every now and then. The evil queen heads to the king and I bet she still somehow gets to him in time, even though Dorothy flew all day and night. Anyway, our heroes have to play a game to bring the Scarecrow back. Some of these effects just look like something out of the Labyrinth.
I should have quit when I was ahead.
Okay, very good. Just because I'm a dad. So Gump fails and then gets turned into an ornament as punishment. But hey, the Gnome King seems to have instant access to hell. But then Jack fails the game next and is also an ornament. So it's TikTok's turn, but he pretends to run down so Dorothy can go in with him, see what he gets turned into if he's wrong, and figure out which ornament is Scarecrow, the clever bastard. All I can think of is Dorothy is risking her entire life as Scarecrow, and so are her new friends, but I guess she doesn't really care about the Tin Man or the Cowardly Lion. The thing is, I don't get how this plan even works. As soon as Dorothy is in there, he relays the plan to her and she pretends to wind him back up, but surely the rocks are spying on her and would then hear this. They're the ones who told them that he ran down. They could hear them before. And TikTok even somehow manages to cry. What? To be fair, it seems like this that show that Dorothy's new friends aren't carbon copies of the original trio. They've tried something new. Of course, Dorothy gets it right on the final try and she manages to save Cokehead Scarecrow.
You were green.
What? An emerald. He was an emerald.
You are a green ornament.
Emeralds. They're all green emeralds. But Jesus, then hell is unleashed. Fucking Disney! He even tries to eat them all. The stop motion looks terrifying. Yeah, this is the Disney film I grew up with. Forget Elsa and Anna, you pussies. This is the real deal. So the chicken freaks him out and drops an egg inside his mouth, which kills him. Damn vegans, they can't eat anything. Seriously, an egg? Of all the things to defeat him, it's a fucking egg. But it's so graphic as he dies, man. Disney used to have balls. So Emerald City returns to normal. Wait, why did the king even kill everyone instead of just having them as his slaves? Oh, and they just so happen to escape with one final ornament, which just so happens to be TikTok, because of course. And they meet Dorothy's old friends, but man, the Tin Man and Cowardly Lion look like shit. Clearly they ran out of budget at the end.
Be the Queen of Oz, Dorothy.
Wouldn't she need to marry the Scarecrow for that? Which was almost the plan for the original. Ew. Before you go though, Dorothy, you might want to leave Emerald City with some guns. Just be on the safe side, it might happen again.
I wish I could be in both places at the same time.
But her wish doesn't come true. Yeah, she makes a wish and it's treated like it comes true, but it doesn't. The blonde girl shows up and it turns out to be Jack's long lost mum, who is somehow younger than him. And then she marries Scarecrow. Okay, so where did the wish come from? I don't even get it. What did her parents expect? They leave their young child alone at a psychiatric unit to have experiments done to her and expect her to not be traumatized and hallucinate. So it turns out the clinic was hit by lightning during the storm and the doctor died. Disney! And then Dorothy invents Skype and predicts the ending to Labyrinth as she has one final moment with Jack's mum. It's a very happy and bittersweet ending. Dorothy basically goes to tell her mum about it, but then doesn't. She finally learns to accept Oz as a secret, and she no longer needs people to believe her because she knows it's real and that's enough. She is finally happy and content. The movie is terrifying, and I can see why people think it's too scary for kids, but looking at the time it came out, are we even surprised? The 70s, 80s, and 90s weren't as PC as the years that followed, and the 80s were probably the most controversial for this. Many kids' films flourished in being dark and demonic. The characters are enjoyable and fresh, the effects are brilliant, it's scary, has some funny moments, and it's a cool continuation of the story without retreading material. It still has charm, but in a very different way. And in my mind, it's even better than its predecessor. Return to Oz is an underappreciated masterpiece.